our viewer, good evening from wherever you're watching us from. Welcome once again to your all-time sports Youth Nation show, and I am your favorite host, Maureen Boyani. Karibu sana. This is a place we come and discuss issues that affect the young people, and as we usually say, hapa we make sure we come up with a solution, and if not, how do we navigate through these issues? How do we help the young people out here? And thank you so much for always joining us and choosing to tune in to PrayerCaveTV. We say this is a place we give you programs that edify you, that educate you, and at the end of the day, they make you a better person. And today I'm so excited because we are having this conversation. It's very cutesy and very demure, you know. And today we are going to talk about self-development. And they say that self-development is a long life process. It's something that happens every single day. And what happens is when you sit down and just reflect on your life, there are areas where you need improvement. There are areas where you need to change something. And this is where self-development comes in, because you want to become a better version of yourself. But also on it, we say that growth is a gradual process. It happens gradually. So don't be hard on yourself. Embrace yourself, celebrate yourself every single step that you make and every step that you take forward. And remember, when you sit down and analyze yourself and the areas of life that you need to improve, it is not just enough to stop there. What do you need? You need to take actionable steps and act to improving yourself. And today on Sets, we have our guest. He's not new. It's a face that we know. And I'll let him introduce himself even before we continue. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Kindly say hi to our viewers.
My name is Joseph Nganga Kuria, and I'm really blessed to be here once more. It has been quite a while, but I'm happy to be here. I actually feel at home. And,
anytime.
I'm blessed. Anytime I come here, I always realize there is something new that is that I birth. And I'm just happy to be here.
Amen.
And I'm a speaker, an author, and also a self-development trainer. Above that, I'm a student at the University of Nairobi. I'm pursuing journalism and communication studies. And my highest qualification is knowing God.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, that is what defines me, and everything I do is based and within the bond of Christianity. Yeah, that is Joseph Kuria in simple terms.
Thank you so much for creating time to be with us today. As he has mentioned, he is a communication strategist. He also helps people when it comes to self-development. And today we want to talk about self-development. But even before we get there, you have said you do communication. Is there any relation between communication and self-development? Does communication play any kind of role when it comes to self-development?
Yeah, there is a great connection between the two. And the reason is because self-development is simply the act of improving yourself and in various aspects of life.
Yeah, sure.
That could be spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally, socially. It is simply improving yourself. And communication is one of the aspects of life.
Yeah.
So if you are improving yourself in communication, it's part of self-development.
Yeah, true.
So we can say self-development is this something big which inside there is communication and many other things in life. Yeah, so there is a great interconnection between the two.
I'm also thinking, when you're talking about communication, we say we either have intercommunication and intracommunication. And so for you to be able to develop yourself, it is a conversation that you've had within, a communication of you understanding where you are at and where you want to get to. And so it is you speaking to yourself into becoming whoever you want to become. I think that is beautiful. So how has your journey been when it comes to self-development?
Well, self-development, I must say that self-development is something that I was motivated to get into it because of the experiences that I've had in life. There are many things that I've gone through right away from primary school, in high school, and even now in the university, which I believe would have been avoided, especially the negative side of it, would have been avoided if I had been subjected into self-development right away from an early age.
Yeah.
It is only yesterday that I was speaking to one of my friends, and she was joking to me, telling me, Joseph, I began speaking in tongues while I was in class 4. And I could not help but laugh, because this is something I actually came to realize way later as I was clearing high school. And you see, I realized it is the exposure she got, because she told me our teacher was strict on us when it came to spiritual matters. She was very strict with us, and I could not imagine that could happen to such a young child. Yeah, so there are many things that I believe that if I had been exposed to self-development at an early age in various aspects of life, be it in how we study. I remember also at some point in life how I used to study. I had a great challenge in how I am studying. And this is the reason I had not learned how I'm supposed to study. So I used to take a book, try to cram from the first page, the first line, the second line, the third line, the fourth line. You can imagine trying to cram word per word. And not until later. And but I used to spend, I was a bookwormer. I would wake up at 3 a.m. until late. I'll sleep as the last one, but still my results were not reflecting the efforts. They could not match at all. And it is simply because there was no one to tell me, Joseph, when you're studying, you should focus more on understanding than cramming. Because with the understanding, now everything else gets in place. So simply because I realized, if personally I was exposed into self-development at an early age, I would stand a chance to be better off than I am right now. It is for that reason that I decided, let me now begin doing this thing even to the others, those in primary school, those in high school, those in university, and even those outside there in life. So that is the first reason. Secondly, I believe that because I've said self-development is simply improving yourself in various aspects of life. So what happens, there are opportunities or there are levels in life that you can never attain, not unless you've grown to those levels. And I love one of the men of God who gives a good example. He talks about a child. When a child is given a vehicle, that is danger to him. Simply because imagine someone below 18 in the Kenyan context, giving such a person a vehicle. It may seem something good, but that is dangerous. Simply because they have not hit the age where now you are considered mature enough to be on the road. And now this person, what may be helpful in other times may at that time be destructive. So I believe with self-development there comes growth, and there are levels that you need to grow to. You don't bring them to you, and anytime they come to you, you will definitely lose them because you've not grown to that level.
You haven't built the capacity to accommodate such. Wow. Maybe I think we can just go back a little bit and talk more about kidogo tu about communication. And just to refresh, I think we have done an episode about communication, so you can go on our YouTube page and go and get that episode. It's so enlightening. There's so much you can learn from that. But maybe you can just remind us, what is the importance of effective communication, and especially how are Gen Zs? You know, these people, I don't know if they embracing this kind of effective communication. Ama to them, as long as you've just conveyed whatever you wanted to convey, that is enough. Maybe you can just tell us, what is the importance of having an effective communication?
Well, I think there's many importances of effective communication. And talking of Gen Z, I think they are best example of how effective communication helps. Let me take you back to the maandamano. It is only some time back that we had the maandamano. And interestingly, all these maandamano are simply a result of a well-communicated plan. That was a clear demonstration of effective communication. These are people who would communicate, or we will communicate through social media. We agree this is the meeting point, and this is the agenda, and this is the reason as to why we are getting out there. That's why most of the people, they were loaded with information. They are saying this is what we need to do, and this is the reason. Simply because there was effective communication. And at some point, there were complaints, of which personally I experienced the same. Some networks were shut down. And the reason is because the government, or perhaps whoever did that, was trying to cut the communication, which was bearing fruits. So it all began with a communication, which happens through these gadgets, which later on transited into results. So you can even see effective communication bears results, because people came out heavily on the streets. reason, communication. And when they tried to shut down the internet, they were trying to cut communication. So effective communication is essential in even creating results. Anytime that you want any result in life, it will begin by communicating. And one of the things that I personally love about effective, because if there's effective communication, it means there's the ineffective communication.
Definitely.
And sometime back in the other episode, when we talked about communication, we said communication is when you convey information or ideas, thoughts, feelings, or emotions from one person to another. And it can either be successful. Now in effective communication, it's not successful. And how do you know it's not successful? Number one, you get the feedback that you were not expecting. Or number two, you how the person interprets the message,
how they decode the
exactly.
message.
So those two things, they decide whether the information is understood or not. And now what you will come to realize is that effective communication helps even in securing opportunities. Lately, I think during the Rema Feast, which happened recently, I was watching the story that Bishop Kula gave. He gave a story, Reverend Kula, and he was talking about some people because he's a businessman. And there are some people who approached him in his office, and interestingly, I think they were two gentlemen. I assume they were Gen Zs, because what they did, man, I don't think any other generation could do that. So they came in the office, and he asked them, "Will you take tea?" They were like, "Yes." "Will you take some cake?" "Yes." "Will you take sausage?" "Yes." "Will you take these?" "Yes." And he said that was the interview. If they can eat all these, they will also eat my company away. So you even realize communication is above words. In fact, I realized most people, they think communication is all about words.
It's what you'd say.
But it is more than words. It is how do you carry yourself? How do you walk? How you walk.
I think even how you dress.
How you dress.
Because they say how you dress, you get addressed.
Exactly. And it is also said, before they hear you, they see you. So there is a way, for instance, I assume you are a boss somewhere, you are running your own company, and I want a job opportunity. When I approach you and I'm dressed in a certain manner, unfortunately, with the Gen Zs, there are new trends of dressing. But the opportunities are not with the Gen Z. The opportunities are with the millennials and, the Gen X. So there is where the opportunities is. And there's how they perceive certain dressing. There's a dress code you'll wear and you'll be perceived as a thief. There are some specs you can wear. There's a certain hairstyle that you'll put and you'll be considered. And simply because we want those opportunities and we are not having them. And it is said that you dance according to the one playing the harp.
It is true.
So we have to align ourselves to them. I love wearing suits, but deep inside, it's not something that I would like to do daily. But every day interact with school principals as I seek opportunities to speak to high school students. And I cannot approach these principals on a jean, on a ragged, because they'll actually turn me down. Let me give you a good example. There's a time my mentor invited me to speak to student leaders. And when I spoke to them, it was a girls' school, and the principal was like, after the session, so we were taking tea together in the same table, and then the principal tells me, "Hey, Joseph, let me tell you the truth. If you had come on your own in my school to ask for permission, to be sincere, I would wonder, what does this young man want with my girls? I will simply deny you the opportunity."
Because how you're dressed?
And just by the mere fact that you are young. But then, being young in our society, it is disadvantageous to some extent. Because there is a perception that's why you'll realize most of the positions, they are being held by old people. And it is not that young people, they do not have the ability, but there's a perceiving that they have. So even as a young person, if you're to get any opportunity, you should package yourself well. Communication is above your words. How do you dress? How do you walk? You'll realize there's a specific style that the president walks. And if you compare, it's almost all the presidents. There are times, sometime back, and it is not I think it's not long time ago. There's a certain way I used to walk, and I think if anyone were to see me, because I used to drag my feet, and I did not know that. It was not until one of my mentors, the boss in a company I was working for, noted that I'm walking that way, and I had to undergo lessons. I tell you the truth. You are walking to town or into offices, he will tell me, walk ahead of me. He will observe me. He will tell me, no, walk well. So you see such things, and to be sincere, they really helped me. He used to reprimand me, walk like a speaker, stop walking like a hawker. They may have seemed as tough words, but I've seen them work.
They've helped you.
So I believe communication is above
the words, the speech.
It is more on how do you dress, how do you walk, handshake. You need to give a firm handshake. You know, there's some people you'll greet and they release your hand even before the greeting takes place.
You need the grip.
Yeah, you need it needs to be a firm handshake. Now imagine you've greeted a CEO and the grip, you've not yet held that grip and you've already released.
Does that even apply to us softies? Girls?
It needs to be firm, because you can imagine in such a scenario, this person will interpret. Unfortunately, sometimes people will not interpret things based on how we want them to. They'll interpret based on how they want to.
Yeah, sure.
So imagine even as a lady, you've greeted this person, then you've released the hand. Number one, this person will be like, so do you think your hand is too important for me? Or do you think how... There is a lot of questions that
being personal.
That's the reality.
Just a handshake.
But it goes a long way in playing a critical role in deciding on whether you'll get that opportunity. So communication is above even how you eat. You see, these guys, they lacked a job opportunity simply because of how they were eating.
They were hungry.
they may have been angry, but do you know, my mentor, I love one of my mentors, because he used to tell me there are times he used to go for a meeting. So he goes to meet someone in Java. But he knows very well, in Java, the only thing I can afford is only a cup of coffee. So he used to go in a kibandaski. You know those places, hapo kwa mama mboga, those areas.
Eat well.
Chapati tatu.
Ana puff kabisa.
Chapati tatu na maharagwe hapo. After that, clears well, mpaka coffee. So by the time umetumia 60 bob or 100 bob, ukifika huko now you can even take...
You're okay with a cup of coffee.
Because number one, the fact that you're going to eat in that office, it sends, and also we are told, by then when you go somewhere, even for an interview, it's not advisable you refuse. It will send a message of pretension. You need to accept, but you also need to have limits.
Do it in moderation.
Yeah, at least no. Even there's a scripture that talks about put a knife in your throat.
Yeah, sure.
You need to limit how much you take in. So I believe communication is wide. It is above the words that we speak. There are many other things that speak on our behalf.
Yeah, we've talked about how communication is just above our speech or our words that we convey. Can we touch a little bit about where is the role of effective listening to communication? Because there's a part of listening to make communication complete. So how is that?
You know, there is a guy called Stephen Covey. He's a communication trainer. He says that most people do not listen to understand. They listen to answer.
Respond,
Have you ever seen these guys where you are talking, but even before you finish talking, there's a point the person is throwing? And unfortunately, it's a common habit among the young people. Personally, I've been affected by that because I love talking, but I had to begin gauging myself. And one thing that I noted, you gain more by listening than by speaking.
Sure.
It is only through listening that you'll realize, even you'll get to understand the other people's views. How do they view things? And in fact, you'll even be able to gain more knowledge. The only way of getting knowledge is by listening, but that is a virtue that is missing completely. So when it comes to effective listening, number one, it helps in understanding. When you listen, it makes you understand a certain message. Okay, what is this person saying? And I can give you a good example. Assume maybe I'm a manager somewhere. Then I give you instruction. I tell you, I want you to write a report. And that report, before you forward it, kindly confirm with the finance department on the financial details to ensure that those details, they are up to date and they are correct. Secondly, after you create the draft, make sure you send that draft to me so that I can go through it before you share it with the board on Monday. Now maybe that is on a Friday, you are going for the weekend, and perhaps because this person is not listening, it's weekend, or rather, you know, when listening there's a lot of distractions that comes especially from within. There's a lot of noises from within. So the only person the only thing that this employee gets is write a report, present it on Monday to the board. He missed two things. So after writing the draft, he does not share it to the manager. On Monday, he presents it, only to realize this the data that he gave, it's outdated. It was something used a long way back. Number two, maybe there is a certain preference that was required. With the manager, he knows better.
Yeah,
there's a certain preference. So this person stands a chance of even losing their jobs because of the misunderstanding. And what brought the misunderstanding?
Lack of listening.
Lack of effective listening. So effective listening helps a lot in understanding. The other thing that I believe listening helps in is to foster good relationship.
Yeah, sure.
Imagine if we are talking, and when you're talking to me, I'm busy on my phone, I'm scrolling through my phone, I don't seem to take in what you're telling me. Number one, I'll be like, I don't think this person even cares about me. Even when a speaker is addressing people, there'll be that aspect of when people are talking, and perhaps if you have addressed any audience and you saw people talking and you are trying to speak to them, you'll feel less, and you'll feel like these people, they don't value
even
me.
Disrespected.
But imagine of a person who is listening to you, nodding his head, you'll be like, this person respects me, and it fosters good relation. And finally, I believe it's something to do with connection, the emotional connection. Anytime you listen to someone, you connect emotionally.
It is true.
It's at that time I realized, by the way, there are people, especially when we are having conversations, there's someone who will begin speaking, and this person, maybe his intention was just to tell me, hey Joseph, how are you doing? I was just checking up on you. But this person realizes I'm interested, I'm listening. You are trying to clarify where you never understood. So this person will be like, let me even go a step further. You'll realize this person. You'll realize later on, there is even an opportunity this person had, and it is at that moment that person shares. Secondly, you may realize this person, there's a problem he had, and at that moment he shared. So effective communication goes a long way in ensuring success in communication.
It is true. Wow, I love that. And even as you're speaking about that, I'm realizing that it is part of self-development, because we need to work on our communication every single day to improve even our relationships. Wow, that is beautiful. And maybe to continue with this self-development part, what do you think inspired you to start self-development at this age? Because I know there, you are a Gen Z. I know there are millennials out here who I wouldn't say they didn't have the opportunity, or maybe they didn't have the opportunity, but it has never occurred to someone that they can take self-development as a thing, maybe to train others or to help somebody else. What was inspiration?
Before I even answer that, do you know, by this self-development is even offered in some places as a course by itself. It's such an important thing. And with self-development, initially I talked about self-development as being the art of, increasing or deepening your knowledge in various aspects, or improving your various aspects of life, whether social, emotional, physical, mental. And one thing with self-development, it is an increment in value.
Yeah, definitely.
And anytime, do you know, if you have value, you cannot be rejected. If there is something you have to offer in the table.
Because everyone seeks value.
True. Many people, they talk about lack of job opportunities. But the reality remains, it is not that there is no job opportunities. There is always a job opportunity. But how good are you in that thing that you are doing? Many people, they go to campus, they do their 4 years. After clearing the 4 years, they are out there saying, we are not given jobs, I applied for the job. But you forget, you need to go. Let me use an example of someone I know very well. My own brother. My brother, I don't know if you'll watch this, but I think it's an inspirational story. Anyways, let me share it. So my brother, when he cleared Form 4, he was studying in Anesta. Anesta is an expensive school. It was always among the top 10 in the nation, and it's a private school. So you can gauge how much they were paying for fees.
Should I say I'm an alumni of Anesta Girls?
Wow, amazing. Even my sister was in Anesta Precious. Now my brother was in Anesta Lanet. And it came a point where my parents, they were not good financially. When they took him there, they were good, but towards the end, things were not good. So for Form 3 and Form 4, I think fees was not paid. And you see, for my brother, he was that kind of a person who, when they are being sent home, he would hide. He would talk with the watchman, tell the watchman, by the way, you just ensure that they'll not know I'm within, or I was not among the list. Because the watchman, I think he was being sent to, and also to ensure that everyone has left. So my brother used to hide and remain back. So by the time he's clearing Form 4, the fees has accumulated. So he could not get the certificate. Do you know, he had to begin as a watchman in Kenyatta University. And it was painful because he was a security guy in the gate. You know the way you're entering and people are searching you. So it was shameful because some of his classmates, they were enrolled. They were admitted in Kenyatta University. He's there at the gate. So in fact, I think it lowered his esteem to some extent, because he will try to, you know, hide. This is a person we studied with. This is a girl I once used to admire somewhere. And you see such, it's so shameful. And he was there for quite a while. After that, he was taken to cleaning department within KU. So he was trying to source some funds. Later on, he began pursuing short courses, some even online. He even introduced me to it's called Allison Studies. It's a self-development app, because it has free courses which you can study, many free courses, and they are very practical. He pursued them, and he used to pursue. The only thing you pay for is for the shipping of the certificate, which is around 1,000 per that time. So now maybe it's around 2,000. So that's what he used to do at other times. So daytime he's doing. He was also talented in dancing. So if there is weddings, they will dance. But later on at night, he's pursuing these courses. He went to Kilimall. He began as a watu wa mkono, carrying, you know, putting things in the vehicle. And slow by slow, he began getting, you know, being promoted. He became the head of the team that is in charge of loading. Later on, he went rising in ranks to an extent that he would even demand, I want an increment in salary. And I realized that most of these employers, they always want to use someone. So it reaches a point and they realize we cannot add this person's salary beyond this point. So they do away with you. Now they bring in new recruits, new young ones who are in need of that job. And that's what they did to my brother. But because of the skills he had gained online, no university, no Form 4 certificate, he got to another big company, a bigger one. Now he's doing well off. In fact, he's out for a vacation. Now I think in the third country. I'm just seeing him online.
Pictures.
And I'm like, this is the person who was a watchman in KU.
A great motivation.
The power of self-development. So I think with if you develop yourself, if you build value, there is an extent to which you cannot be ignored.
That's true.
Do you know there are industries where there are people who even never pursued that course? There's one of my friends, he does graphic design. Do you know, interestingly, this person does an amazing job, but he has never entered any graphic design.
It is self-taught.
He had that passion, that interest, using the University of YouTube. He built that, you know, that value, and he grew to that. So personally, seeing all these things, I was motivated into getting now into self-development, because I know self-development is improving your values in various aspects. And like personally, I'm focusing now on communication, mental health, mindset shift, because in an African country we are raised with lower mindsets.
It is true.
I remember there's a time I went to talk somewhere and I was asked, how much should we pay you? And I tried to think, and how much? I had talked only for less than 1 hour. So I thought, what should I say? The person realized I'm not quite sure.
Bargaining within you.
Yeah, so I think I said 3,000, but they gave me 5,000. So I was like, wow. Later on, when you know, there's a sheet you sign when you go to schools and you are paid as a speaker. So there's a sheet that they signed. So they had written my amount that I'm given, but they had not written the amount. We were 2 speakers. They had not written the amount of the other speaker. So they never wanted me to see that amount because they knew I've quoted a lower price. Later on, I was to realize this girl was paid 100 G's.
Wow.
Imagine I was paid how many times my money? Almost. And
Very
you see,
unfortunate.
It's because
I think
I was limited in terms of.
And also, I think people should understand. People should know how to value themselves.
Definitely.
Wow, that is a good one. We're going to take a very short break, our viewer, and we're going to be right back and continue with this candid conversation. And before that, I would like you to go with that mentality. How do you value yourself? Can you even place a price tag on your value? And how much will that be? Don't go far. Keep it here at PrayerCave TV. Welcome back, our viewer. Thank you so much for keeping it here at PrayerCave TV, and of course, your all-time show, the Youth Nation Show. And thank you so much for joining us this evening. And before we took a break, I left you with a question, and I asked you, how much do you value yourself? Can you place a price tag on your value? And if so, how much can that cost? May you just write to us on the number of your screen. Let us know where you're watching us from, and are you enjoying the conversation? And maybe would you have a question that you'd want us to answer this evening? And even as we proceed, I have a question, kidogo. What is the best advice you've ever gotten this far you've come in life?
Well, there's one of my friends who told me, that's a hard one because there are many of them.
just
Yeah, but one of them that I remember clearly is one of actually it was the head of the department that I'm in school. He gave out his speech to be read, and in his speech there's a quote that stated, opportunities are not for those who are qualified. Opportunities are for those who grab them. And that has helped me from that day.
Oh, wow.
It was a simple quote in a passive speech, but it played a major impact in my life, because I nowadays don't know it because I've done this, because I speak I'll get the opportunity. I go for them, I grab them.
I like that. And maybe just to proceed with the conversation tonight, how are you able to balance self-development and other responsibilities that you have? Of course, you're a student. How are you able to juggle this and make sure that all of these are at bar?
Well, what I think has helped me a lot is priorities. Number one, personally, and I think these are, everyone can know how he will do it. You need to come up with a priority list. You know what is the priority in your life. For instance, I'm a student, and that is fixed. You know, it affected me in first semester, because of the talks that I used to make. I used to travel with some of my mentors, and we used to go in various places. I studied in University of Nairobi main campus, but now we used to travel to Western, and I used to miss a lot of classes. And it dawned on me when now we sat for the test, and I realized you will reap what you sow. So after that, later on, I had to come to call myself into a meeting, and I had to tell myself, Joseph, you are a student, and for that matter, you are a full-time student. So anything else it should not distract you from this. For these 4 years, you ought to be a full-time student. And that is what actually it is the mentality even began this year with, because initially I was affected. So I think it's all about priorities. You decide, this is who I am, and this is what I need to do. Maybe let me use an example of someone who is working. If you're working, I can imagine now, for example, you are working somewhere, you're employed, and then one of your friends tells you that there's an important occasion, and this is your very close friend, and this friend tells you that you need to your presence will be great in this but on that particular day you need to be out for a job. But this is an one-time event, and it's up. Do you know there are people who will spare their job they'll try to seek maybe off, and then they're denied just to make their friends happy. They say whatever will happen, let it happen. People commonly say and you go for these, but later on now you come to face the consequences. You end up jobless. You would have even used that fare you send as the gift and everything, but you see, if this person now has a priority and realizes my job is my priority, this person in a way, and sometimes also there's something to do with your dream and your job, because I believe these are two different things. But I love what Dr. Miles used to say. He used to say, your job is what finances your dream. For instance, I'm a speaker, right? And apart from being a speaker, one of the things that I love doing is evangelism. That is part of me. And in most cases, when you go to schools, you'll not be paid, but you'll have to, there's a cost that you'll have to use fare and everything. You'll have to make an investment, but you're not paid. But now through these engagements that I go and I get paid, that is what I use to facilitate this one. So it is your job that funds your dream. Now you can imagine if I quit my job at the expense of my dream. I say I'm an evangelist. I don't want anything to do with this. God will provide. I'll mess up.
That is true.
And that opportunity will go to many other people. So what helps me a lot is priorities. What is, if these two things are presented to me, what is my priority? If it is this, I'll take it. I'll not everyone will be happy with that, but I'm not here to please people.
Yeah, true.
I take my priority.
You just reminded me, I had someone say that God cannot give you 1,001 things to do at one time. You know, he also values priorities. And so you'll always have 2 or 3 things that you're doing, but it is best when you seek God to ask God, you've given me this, help me prioritize. Because what God does, he gives you these things in a particular season. So you will be handling, like now you're in school, you're doing the other thing and the other thing. But maybe in 2 years to come, you'll be out of school.
Definitely.
So again, your priorities are going to change.
Sure.
So I love that point of knowing what to prioritize at what time. That is powerful. And so has prioritizing been easy for you? Kwa sababu some of us, when it comes to routine things, it is hard. Leo we are doing this, tomorrow we are up doing something totally different.
It has not been, because I've actually told you there's a time I messed up with my academics because you're smelling money somewhere and you're like, why am I even studying? I'm studying to get money, and see, there's money there.
Get this money first.
But I know it is for the good. So it has not been easy. It has taken sacrifice. It has taken, by the way, sometimes it is just recently that I realized there's a time that I would have laxity of time because but now because I have to take in my the priority, and at the same time there's this other thing I want to engage in. So this means I have to go an extra mile.
You have to push yourself.
If it's sleeping, I have to reduce my sleeping time. If it is maybe an activity that was not as productive, I cut it off. I spare that time for some other things. So it has even led me to even stretching above the norm, above the obvious. And they say you cannot do things in the same way and expect different results.
Absolutely.
So it has pushed me to going an extra mile. And you see, that question now leads me to something else. I realize in most cases, when people now try to pick one thing, drop one for another, in most cases, you'll find this laxity that comes in. For instance, you have these 2 things and you maybe, for example, let me use the example of a job and a dream. If you have a job and a dream, if you drop your job at the expense of a dream, that's why you'll find people are not busy. The whole day they are not doing anything. But if you pick up both of them, it will stretch you out and you'll have to go for it. So it has not been easy. It has led to sacrificing. Sometimes you don't even sleep. And actually, let me give just an example of today. It was a struggle waking up. The alarm snoozing. I tried to, but I had set several because I knew I had barely slept for 2 hours. And the other day it was also the same. But now this, I think it is now trying to take up everything, but which I think is good because it's stretching you out
and brings out the best in you. And I think even in that, whatever you're saying about foregoing your job at the expense of your dream, it's also important to recognize we usually have very many balls. Some are rubber balls, some are crystal balls. So you might drip down a ball, which is your crystal ball, and it won't bounce back unlike a rubber ball. So it is important in life to know which kind of balls you have in your hands and which one are going to bounce back. And the precious one, the crystal one, then you hold it.
Definitely.
Well, wow. We can see here there is a book. And first of all, congratulations to your upcoming book. Maybe you can tell us what inspired you coming up with this, or what was the thing that intrigued you to sit down and just think that you need to share this mind out with the people?
Yeah, there are various reasons. To begin with, the book is titled The Silent Conversations Within. Actually, I'm yet to launch it. I recently, the publishing was recently completed. I'm going to publish it next month on 19th of October. And the reason as to why I wrote the book, number one, is because I used to get a lot of platforms, having spoken to more than 100,000 people. But you realize that after every platform, students are there following you. Joseph, what can I do in this? And you realize time will never be enough. The 2 hours you get or the 1 hour you get is not time enough to pour out your heart. And for that reason, I was like, no, what can I do? And that's where now the idea of having a book came. And now that's a different thing. Now the content of the book. And I was actually, I think before we began, I was sharing with you and I was telling you this idea, the idea of now having that title. The title, I received it last year during my meditation time. And now it's because there's a show we did and I was talking about intrapersonal communication. And we talked about constructive communication and destructive. It was constructive intrapersonal communication and destructive intrapersonal communication. In constructive communication, we talked about this lady with the issue of blood flow. She only told herself, if only I touch the garment, I will get healed. So this was a communication
within her
that began from within. It was a silent conversation within that brought her the healing, which was in conjunction with faith. Another person is Joseph. Joseph was there struggling, and he said, in as much as I did bad thing, my dad cannot treat me like this. Even the workers of my dad, they are not treated like this. Let me go back. It began with an intrapersonal communication, which led to action. And for destructive communication, I love using the example of David. He was supposed to be in battle, but he never went for battle.
He decided to let around.
And as he was there, having the view,
eyes
and that idea, he entertained that idea
within him,
and that idea led to the action of what he later on did. So I realized that a lot of things that we do begin from within. How I'm dressed today, it was a thought. It first came as a thought. I never just picked what I can get hold of. I was like, there's some things I needed to consider. Okay, what kind of a show am I going for? And everyone, whatever you do, there's always a thought that you produce. In fact, statistics reflect that we produce around 50,000 thoughts in a particular day, in 24 hours. That translates to around 2,000 thoughts in every minute. And now I jokingly say, imagine if that was to be money, it would be converted with money. We would all be rich in no time. So I realized that everything that we do begins from within. And now it goes outside. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So as you think, that is who you are.
That is true.
Your thinking is a reflection of who you are. Everything begins from the inside.
Because we are told we can't go where your mind has not got yet.
And everything is completed twice. A building, before it's set up, it is completed in the mind, then actualized. So it is for that reason that I wrote the book, The Silent Conversations Within. It is a book that talks about the nature of man. It talks about the mind. It talks about the brain. It talks about the relationship between the brain and the mind. It's one of the things that people are oftenly confused of. And now there's a chapter dedicated for the spirit man. So it's a book that combines both Christianity and science, and there's
somewhere
common point of agreement.
That is beautiful. Of course, I know there has been challenges when it comes. This is part of your self-development.
Definitely.
Which, of course, didn't come easily. And maybe there's someone who is watching you and wondering, how can someone at this age be able to write a book? Maybe you can tell them what kind of challenges did you go through, and how can someone, maybe someone who else who has already, they have the thought, but now implementing it is totally another thing. Maybe you can tell them, how do you go into implementing and the challenges you've gone through and how you overcame them?
The first challenge is the silent conversations within.
You hear them.
It is where you tell yourself, and
should I not?
Am I really even qualified to
pen
this down?
Am I even
and will I even get the resources?
Will people read?
Will people read? In fact, there are people who are telling me, Joseph, if you're to write a book, write romance or write Africa literature.
Those things sell.
Yeah, but I'm like, my interest is not selling. My interest is impact. So there are all those things. So the silent conversations within, and I realized these thoughts, they will always be there it is not done. It is not possible not until it is done. It is only when now you decide, let me, regardless of all these that I'm hearing, let me do
put
this.
Your foot forward.
So one of the challenges was those questions, and people telling you, they say if you want to hide anything from an African,
put it in a book.
Put it in a book.
They'll never find it.
So such things, they in some way slowed me down. Secondly, it's the financial aspect. You're like, I've had people have published books and how much they have used. Where will I get this money? But I realized where there's a will, there's a way.
Definitely.
Anytime. And so long as God has helped you or given you that vision, he always finances and caters for everything. So to any young person there who you want to write a book, you will always have those silent conversations with him. They are normal, but then you have to rise above them. It is not possible not until it is done. Go on and do it.
Wow, that is powerful. And maybe there's someone who is wondering. Yes, I have this idea, and you know, the way you have said, like, people will always want you to talk you out of it. And maybe even some of these things come from even parents, people very close to you.
True.
Did you get to a point where, or someone around your circle really discouraged you? And how did you raise above that discouragement? Because I think most of the things we end up not doing them because of disappointment and discouragement. And those words, especially if it's from someone who is really close to you or someone you trust, then they hit hard. Like raising above such kind of disappointment or disapproval is hard. Did you get anything like that?
Many of them. I tell you, many of them. In fact, I had to challenge a lot of status quo, especially from the parents. They're like, and this book launch is too early. And where will you get these? And you know, I'm only 20 years. There are all those. It's still too early. You can do it on December. You know, there are all those discouragements. But I realized the only way you can do something is by having confidence. And the Bible says you have not been given the spirit of fear, but of courage. You have to have that courage and go for it. Personally, there's a lot of discouragement, negative words. And let me give you a concept behind it. You see, in our mind, there's the conscious mind and there's the subconscious mind. Okay, there's another in between, the preconscious. That is between the conscious and the subconscious. But now the conscious mind is the one that, you know, what we are doing right now, they're all in the conscious mind. But now the subconscious mind picks in information from the conscious mind. So anytime that people speak to you, it comes and it's repeated, especially it comes from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind. And now your subconscious mind takes in anything. Your subconscious mind does not choose. It is only your conscious mind that says, this one is good, this one is bad, pick this one. But subconscious mind, it does not. It's like a garden. It's like a soil, and the seed that you plant is the seed that will grow. So when you entertain, when people keep on telling you, and that's why you need also the kind of friends who can push you, who can tell you, they can push you to do crazy things. You remember those friends who will tear a wall just to bring down someone so that Jesus will heal them. So you need such friends will tell you, but this is possible. And why even are you doing this? This is a small mentality. Why don't you do this? Because those words, they get from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind. From your subconscious mind, it is executed. As a man thinketh in his heart, and this so heart here is, and it implicates the mind, the subconscious mind. As you think in your subconscious mind, so are you. So whoever you are is a reflection of your thinking. So when people keep on pouring those words and you entertain them, and let me tell you, especially when you are alone, that's why me personally don't advise people to stay alone. Find a team of friends, have friends around you. Because when you are alone, and I think that's why the scripture talks about he will leave the 99 and go for the one. Because the 99 cannot be easily attacked as compared to the one. This one, by being alone, it is exposed. And it is at a great risk. So I think sometimes we even need to surround ourselves, because it is at that moment that the devil begins planting thoughts in you. And you think even it's possible. And who has even ever done it? And this guy told you, why did you see, there's these Wright brothers. When Wright brothers, they came up with they are the one who invented the plane. When they were coming up with the plane, I don't remember is it not Thomas Edison? I don't know if it's Thomas Edison or who it was, but there's a person who was at the level of Thomas Edison. There's something he had invented. I don't know if it's Thomas Edison or who it was. This guy kept on discouraging the Wright brothers. You know, he would even laugh. You know, that mocking laugh. How do you think it's possible? Something flying in the air. Who has ever done that? And imagine, it's like now someone you have lived to admire telling you this is not possible. So that was the same thing with this guy. Was being told you cannot do this. And eventually, these guys, they negated that fact. And do you know, at the end of it all, they came up with a plan. Who remained to be ashamed?
This other guy.
Yeah, these other guys. So I encountered most of those circumstances, but the way I went above them is just by ignoring those negative ones and picking the positive ones.
That was very insightful. It is very good to be mindful of what we plant even within us. And maybe because we've talked about the discouragement that these people go through, maybe what can you tell the young people? How can they stay motivated especially when it comes to self-development? You know, we have said this is a gradual thing. It doesn't just happen one day and you become. It is a process. It is a step you take by day, even as you building habits. And also you can tell us, how do we build good habits towards self-development? Yeah.
Well, it is said that Rome was not built in a day, and success is a journey. It is not a one-day thing. And how personally, for instance, how I am today is not how I was yesterday. And in the same way, it is not how I was some few years ago. There is a change that keeps on happening. In fact, there's an interesting thing that I noted in the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. He says that if you become better every day, if you become 1% better at what you do, by the end of the year you'll be 37 times better at what you do. So number one, I can encourage any young person to develop a vision. And a vision is simply a clear articulation of where you want to go and how you want to go there and when you want to be there. If you don't know what you want, you'll settle for anything.
But you know, talking about that, I wouldn't say some of us or viewer, they don't have a vision. This person has sat down and they have a vision board of what they want to achieve. But somehow, there's always this thing of discouragement in the morning. Maybe, I think most of us have been there where to, let's say, like, for example, every new year, we write the resolution, the objectives, and you've really purposed and told yourself the way you're even going to achieve goal A. And you even have the steps into it. But first day you'll do it, but the second day, you're back into the other habits.
You know, it is said that when your dream is too big, some things become too small. And let me give a good example. You can imagine, for instance, let's just assume maybe I'm living in my mother's house, and in there I'm getting food and everything. There's a possibility of reluctance because I'm getting food, I'm getting shelter. Now imagine my parents kick me out. I tell you the truth, I'll not sleep out and I'll not fail to eat. I don't know how we'll eat, but I'll give my best to see that I'll get something to bring on the table. So there are times when situations, they'll bring you to a point where you'll have to go for your dream. I believe the reason as to why many people, they have visions which they never execute is because they have not, that vision has not become a reality in themselves. It needs to be, you need to be too conscious of it. You know, when you become too conscious of something, some other things become irrelevant. It is just like heat. When you export, maybe when you expose something to heat, maybe for instance, something like wax to heat,
it will melt.
It will begin melting. When this dream becomes too alive in you, when you know where you want to go, and it becomes too alive in you, I tell you the truth, you'll definitely hit it. But unfortunately, we in most cases wait until we are the corner where situations have pressed us, where now people are coming and asking you for money. That's when now you push yourself and you even begin working extra hours. But we don't have to necessarily wait until the last minute when situations have pressed you to begin now giving your best. And unfortunately, let me give you an example. Imagine you are running, you're on a track, you are running, and it's a marathon, a long marathon, the 20-something kilometer. And when you get to a certain point, you get tired and you say, I'm not going to run, I'll walk until I finish. And then you notice there's a lion behind. You are tired. In fact, you could not even run. You are completely tired. But I tell you the truth, you don't know where the strength. In fact, even a lame can walk.
It motivates you.
It has reminded me the case of these Israelites, the time when they were carrying a dead person and then they saw their enemies, they threw the body, it fell on some bones, and it woke up and followed them. So, but you see in such a scenario, I know it's all about the adrenaline, because you're in danger, adrenaline is released, and you can run. So this means that there's always that energy in our body. So it's just that it's only circumstances that sometimes press us to the corner, but we need to have that inside drive that pulls us. And also you need people who will keep you accountable. People will tell you where you are, that's a comfort zone, rise above that comfort zone. And that's all, because personally, when we went for a long holiday, I'm also used to creating these goals for the year, and I noted none of them I would even achieve. In fact, by mid-year I even forgot if I had some. But this holiday was very intentional. I told myself, number one, the book must be ready, which is ready. I told myself I must go for the driving school, which I completed. I told myself it's only maybe 2 things that I never completed, but majority of them I completed. And I realized it's because now my dream had become too real to me. The essence of that dream was felt in me, so that some other things became too small. So I think the problem is always we have not died enough, or we are not too conscious of our dreams.
Wow. Hey, time is really running. But before even we conclude, I want you to maybe speak something about what is the role, or is there an importance of having a mentor when it comes to self-development?
Yeah, definitely. Someone said that an old man sitting sees farther than a young man standing. So as a young person, especially as a young person, mentors are too important. A mentor can save you even 10 years.
It is true.
Because there's a decision that you may make, or there's a path that you can take that will cost your life. But a mentor can tell you, by the way, I tried that and this way it led me, so don't do that. It can save you a lot. Mentors are too important.
True.
Very important. They are, if you're to go far, then you need someone to hold your hand. Anyone, even in the political arena, even when you look at the president, you will see him with the late President Moi somewhere while he was still, I think, an MP or so, and even when he was in university, and today he's the serving president.
True.
So you see the aspect of mentorship. You have to have people who are, especially in that field that you are in, who can lead you and tell you this is the right decision. They'll save you time, they'll save you energy, and you will go far. And it is said that a mentee goes far than a mentor. That is the role of mentorship. So mentorship is very important.
Wow, beautiful. Maybe even as we come to a close of today's show, what is your parting shot, even as you invite us to the book launch, where and when?
Okay. So what I can say to any young person, self-development is critical. If you are to achieve anything in life, you then have to grow. When you grow, there are some things that you will begin attracting. There are people you'll begin attracting. There are opportunities that you'll begin attracting. There's that notion where studying, reading, going to meetings has been made to look like something that is, out of date. But it is too important if you are to go anywhere in life. And just to sum up, I've finished up with my book. It is called The Silent Conversations Within, and it talks about the silent conversations that we produce in our minds. It is a book worth reading, whether you are a student, whether you are a parent, whether anyone. This is a critical book that will help you. We have realized that everything begins from your mind, and later on it transits into reality. Let your silent conversations within shape your destiny. On 19th of October, I will be launching the book. And I'll be doing the venue is within Nairobi town. I'll communicate, and also you can make a pre-order of the book. Perhaps I can give my contact.
Yes, sure.
0701 076 191. I'll repeat, 0701 076 191. That is my contact. You can reach out to me if you want to inquire about where the book will be launched, and similarly if you want to get a copy. May God bless you.
Amen. Amen. Our viewer, we've come to the close of today's episode. Keep it here, PrayerCaveTV, and until next Saturday, keep being motivated and encouraged to make sure you become the best version of yourself. This is your all-time sport, the Youth Nation Show, and I've been your favorite host, Maureen Boyani. Keep it PrayerCaveTV. Bye-bye.